Okay, we are back, everybody. Hello, hello, hello for another week of the Weekly Reader. Look at this shit. The camera done came unplugged right as we go live. I've lost camera access. Let's see if I can get it back.
It's a podcast now.
Is it a podcast? It's a motherfucking hot shit. So we are back, everybody. Welcome back to the Weekly Reader with Zack, Brian, and Kenny. And we have a lot to talk. We really have probably more to talk about this week than we've had in a long time. A lot of topics, a lot to say. Before we get into the topics, Brian is sitting in a brand new clean house. You've worked hard all day getting the house together. Brian, why is the house so clean? What's happening?
You know, I gotta make sure that everything is set and clean for the show. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, it's for the show. The question is, which show? What will you be showing in this show for those who are able to indulge in it?
I'm gonna be showing my feet, and also my brains, and also, a little bit of booty. Last night I posted that video it's a good number. This was all right. I was trying to parody the fucking algorithm because the algorithm likes to push the most bullshit things. And so I was just like, let me see what this does. But had the caption make it so that it talks about politics. And it did good. My other video did well.
Yeah, you definitely showed some booty. And I'm glad that the algorithm rewarded you for your antics. Kenny said that he would come over and he would clean that house immaculately, which I think is a great thing. I'm gonna tell you this, Kenny. I always have to give the Virgos in this world credit. When I tell you, if I could find someone to help me around my house that was a Virgo, I would pay double because I know that they're gonna do it perfectly. They are meticulous, they're fastidious, and they take not necessarily in their own space. Like, to be fair, like Virgos aren't always like that way for themselves, but they're that way for everybody else. So that's why I'm like, I know that it will be perfectly done.
Look, part of keeping the house clean is just doing the small thing. It's just like, okay, don't leave dishes in the sink, rinse them off, put them in the dishwasher, keep it moving. You see trash, pick it up off the floor. Don't just walk past it.
And this is my argument.
Break it down, Brian.
Because it's not just about, the preemptive cleaning. Of course, I'm cleaning up after myself. Of course, I'm going to, rinse a dish, put it in the dishwasher. Of course, but I'm talking about the dusting, the sweeping, the mopping, the cleaning the toilets, the cleaning the showers, the making sure the drain treatments, dusting the blinds and cleaning all of that. It took them 2 hours. It took them 1 hour. It took them 1 hour, but it was two of them, which is 2 hours in total. You know what I'm saying? So let me just say, for the people,
are they paid by the hour or are they paid by the?
They're paid by the hour, but because there was two of them, I had to pay them both, 1 hour worth of labor. So, which is fine because you want to pay people the right thing. People who don't know, y'all should go on TaskRabbit. We're not funded by TaskRabbit, but I'm saying TaskRabbit is the place to go in order for you to get some good labor, get some good reviewed people who are actually not criminals, not going to steal your shit. That's one of the things that I've always thought about is how do I trust somebody to come into my house to clean my house? Because they can steal your shit. I'm over here doing work. I'm over here, I'm not, but you don't know if they're going through your closet trying to steal your shit. So I don't know, but then you get some people who are, their background checks, elite taskers, all of this stuff, and you can get some good reviewed people.
So you know what? I will be transparent, and this is kind of funny, but it's not funny because you guys have both been to my house, and you guys,
you need a cleaner. Brian,
I've had
700 square feet probably.
Well, I've always thought it was. It's a time saving method for me, right? Because you guys know how much I work, all the things I do, all my interests and all that stuff. But here's the thing: I used to have this lady who would come and she was great. Her name was Miss Edith, and Miss Edith wouldn't steal stuff, but she would take a lot of, like, she would ask for stuff. So she would clean out my refrigerator. She would clean out pantries, and she would load up all this stuff in these garbage bags, like not grocery bags. And she would say, "Kurt, can I have?" And then she would say, "You ain't gonna eat it. It's gonna expire. It's been in here. I've been watching it." And she would always leave with like a bag full of stuff that I had no idea I even had. So, and I guess she's not the only one dealing with stuff.
But that you're supporting the economy, you're paying people, you creating jobs, and you're also giving people, you're fighting food waste because you're giving shit away that you didn't even know you fucking had it. So this is what I'm saying. As long as you're being productive, why are we mad at it? That's all I'm saying. I get people who pay people to clean their house.
I'm one of them people. I'm cheap as hell. Shit, if I got to do it, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it right.
And I know it's going to be done right. You are a Virgo. And maybe what is also being done right is the impeachment inquiry being launched against President Joe Biden by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Now, I don't know if that's the case, but it seems as though they're definitely trying to make this happen. And I think that, a lot of MAGA Republicans are seemingly ready to rejoice. They're thinking, that they have now launched the impeachment inquiry. I want to know from both of you guys what you think will happen in this situation and if it's going to have an impact on this election coming up. The inquiry is all about improper conduct and wrongdoing in regards to President Biden's business deals. This does come weeks ahead of the primary season officially starting and getting off the ground. And so I just want to know, what you guys think. Starting off, that's kind of our first topic, first discussion. And who wants first dibs?
Number one, they have no standing. Number two, they don't even have the votes. So it's just a waste of time. They're wasting our time because Kevin McCarthy promised Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these raunchy, stupid Republicans that he would impeach Biden if he had an opportunity. This is literally what that is. He's trying to keep his little promise, to keep his little Speaker of the House, knowing damn well his ass is on borrowed time. That's it. That's all.
Look, I think this is a Republican political ploy to get their base, riled up. Kevin McCarthy is trying to get a win for the base. And the problem is that there's so much infighting on the Republican side right now that we have not really seen. And this is something that in recent memory, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, in recent memory, I haven't seen Republicans infight so publicly so much. And so I think that this is a good turning point for the party that we knew was going to be start blowing up. We knew Republicans even said this as well. Lindsey Graham, was it Lindsey Graham who said that, if we elect Donald Trump, that we would be responsible for the destruction of our own party, and we only have ourselves to thank for that. I mean, yeah, this is them going down that barrel. There is no standing. This is a political ploy, and you have Matt Gaetz who's trying to oust Kevin McCarthy anyway. You know what I'm saying? So you're trying to play with fire, and I think they're starting to realize that this is there's nothing else to do. You have Elise Stefanik on the phone with Trump. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene at a dinner with Donald Trump. They're both reportedly talking about the impeachment inquiry. This is him pressuring Republicans in the House because they know that they have the votes to try to put this vote out. But obviously, there's going to be no conviction. There's going to be nothing to come of it. They just want to stain Biden's political tenure as it relates to him being a president, because we know that Donald Trump was the twice impeached, 4 times indicted, former president, and that's going to stay with him for the rest of his life. And we know that Trump's MO is about vengeance and being vengeful. So that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And they want to be able to use that as fuel during the campaign.
I think you guys are both correct. I do believe I think it's going to have an impact, but I think it could work to the benefit of Democrats if they are going to be smart. I don't think they will be, but they could take this and they could make this something that's going to benefit the campaign, right? So like here we have Republicans, and Republicans are sitting here thinking that this is what President Biden is going to be given, right? Like President Biden is going to be hit off guard, confused and befuddled, sad and downplaying, and he's looking like that, like for the moment, to then look like this, like, well, what are they doing? Oh my God. To then look like this. I'm so sad about it. To be like, gotcha, motherfuckers. I know that this is going to work. This is what we should be seeing from the White House. President Biden, from what I have researched, I think that he was already preparing for this and gearing up for this and creating his statement around it. I think that we've seen some savvy comebacks already from some Democrats regarding the impeachment inquiry, but I just hope that they continue to message this the right way and they continue to educate people around the press from Republicans to dissuade from the issues and the facts. The one thing that bothers me the most about Democratic messaging in the moment is that they don't hammer the defensive end on Republicans. Like they keep letting Republicans be on the offense instead of putting Republicans on the defense. Republicans are talking about issues in America right now that have absolutely no value to the American people. No one cares about these made up cultural issues. Like no one is, that's not the focus. They're attacking trans rights in America. They're attacking gay rights in America. They're attacking the civil rights of Black and brown people in America. They literally are putting buoys up in Texas to kill migrants trying to enter the United States of America. These are horrendous things, but I don't hear enough Democrats in positions of power hammering those things home. And they're not flipping it over to say, what is your real purpose? What is your real agenda? What is your real platforms? Republicans don't have a platform. Don't forget that the Republican National Convention was nothing but a Trump family reunion on television. They didn't lay out a platform. They didn't lay out issues. They didn't talk about policies. And Democrats keep letting them get away with that. It's time to hold them accountable and make them really reveal the lack of ideas or the sinister ideas that they have in place for the American people. It's too much time being wasted on things like the impeachment inquiry, too much time being wasted on things like Hunter Biden, his laptop, and now, the excitement he had with his gun and cocaine. Too much time being spent on that and not enough time pressing Republicans back about what they're going to do with their lack of a plan. That's what I think. And I really hope that Democrats take this and they flip it, because Republicans do a really good job of flipping things. Like they should be gotcha. And they keep getting out, they keep twisting around, they keep flipping it. And Democrats don't do enough to hammer it home.
And I think you're absolutely right. And I think in terms of political strategy, and that was something that I had not thought of, but you're absolutely correct in that Democrats need to understand that if they do move forward with a vote and they do get the votes, at least in the House, that we have to talk about how corrupt that has been. Because again, this is the investigations that they were doing, into Hunter Biden and all that they're starting to say, well, let's continue to do it. Let's subpoena him. And that's all the rave right now. You have to think about, they did all of that investigation during the Trump administration and found nothing. And now they want to rehash it and do it again and put it in the media spotlight. They like to reuse the same tired talking points and storylines. And then also, I think what you're right about is that Republicans like to use stories that talk about, well, my candidate is being attacked and turn it into martyrdom, where people are able to talk about, well, now look at their targeting me. Trump has talked about it consistently. The deep state is attacking me and all of this stuff. Why is it that we're not using the same kind of energy to say, well, we have to ensure that look at how corrupt they're being, look at how they're running off of lies, look at how they're talking about trying to put this impeachment inquiry forward and trying to get the votes on it, but there's no basis. And if there's no basis, they're wasting the time. They're not really putting forth any policies, and we should be using this to say we need to vote their asses out so that we can regain the House and actually move forward policies, considering we have the Senate.
So here's a question for you guys.
To waste time, though.
You want them to do what, Kenny?
I don't want Democrats to even waste their time even addressing this BS.
I agree with.
I just don't feel like it's even necessary. Just focus on the needs of the American people and just run off of all your accomplishments. The American people don't care about these inquiries. Do you think American people truly care about all these hearings? We don't give a damn. We're not watching it. We're not sitting here with C-SPAN on 24 hours. We don't care. Nobody cares. Right now, people care about food on their table. People care about high inflation. People care about how they're going to pay their rent. That's what people care about. And what Democrats need to do is, like what you said, we need to stay on message. I know a lot of people, we understand that inflation is going down, especially when it comes to America. We're sitting pretty good compared to all the other G7 nations. However, it may not be transmitting into everyday Americans' pockets. They may not be seeing it. However, we have to let them know where we came from and where we're going. That's what needs to happen. And we also need to let them know about all the policies that would have actually benefited the everyday American if had not Republicans voted against it.
Or if we would have come out and voted and not allow Republicans to retake control of the House. But here's a question for you both based upon what you just said, Kenny. Is this the fault of Democrats? Or maybe it's based on what Brian said. Is this the fault of Democrats? If Democrats would not have pushed so hard for the impeachment of Donald Trump that did not yield anything, even though we know there was wrongdoing evident, but at the end of the day, it didn't go anywhere. Like it didn't result in actual, it didn't hurt Donald Trump's standing in the Republican Party. Like it didn't alter anything at all with how Republicans felt about Trump. This isn't going to probably alter anything about how Democrats feel about Biden. But I think what it's going to do is definitely going to mobilize and excite and empower Republicans. And it's going to give them talking points against Biden when people bring up the charges against Donald Trump. So it'll be a quid pro quo. When you say Trump is charged with X, Y, and Z, well, Biden is charged with X, Y, and Z. Trump was impeached. Biden was impeached. It's going to give that back and forth banter for the Republicans out there so that you have less power in the accusations against Trump. Is this the fault of Democrats? Had they not pushed for an impeachment of Trump, would we be where we are right now in American politics in regards to this impeachment?
We would have been
No, I
right
don't
where
think
we
so.
are. No, we would have been right where we are. Remember Benghazi? We would have been
No,
right where we are.
Listen, I don't think so. And here's the reason why. I think that it may not have stirred the base, but it definitely stirred the people who were in the middle, right? The moderates, the independents, the people who may have voted for him maybe in 2016 who didn't want to vote for him in 2020. It may have dissuaded people who may have said, okay, well, these are the two people, and maybe not, let me not vote for him this time. And if I don't even vote for Biden, then I'm not voting at all, right? And so I don't know. I think that there is something to be said about holding people accountable, and we can't have this narrative of, well, let's not do it because then they're gonna, because that's essentially what it is, right? Well, if one party does it, then when the next party comes into power, they're going to try to do the same thing, and that's exactly what happened, right? People who were like, oh, if they go after Donald Trump and try to do this impeachment, then when a Republican House comes in, they're going to move forward with a Biden impeachment because we want to do this vengeful back and forth shit. And it's like, no, his ass needed to be held accountable. Even if there was no change in the base and how the base perceived him, there is definitely on the record it being a former president of the United States was held accountable historically to impeachments and the reasons why. That history will tell the story when we read back on it. And years later, when the textbooks are created for people to read, that we know what was done and the reasons why. So I think that that's super important from a historical perspective. And I think, again, accountability is never a bad thing, particularly when it is warranted. So I don't know. I feel like we'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about Mitt Romney and his feelings about this whole age situation, because that's kind of in the same wheelhouse in terms of, well, we should talk about this or we should not talk about this. He shouldn't say this. He shouldn't say this, because it's going to essentially hurt both of them. But we'll talk about that in a second. But I'm just saying, I feel like accountability should definitely be had if it was warranted.
I agree. Accountability needs to happen, but I just don't feel that us holding Trump accountable would have stopped them from doing what they were going to do to Biden. I remember seeing this happen to Hillary Clinton with the whole Benghazi hearings. I mean, they stayed on her ass and tried to sink her campaign.
It was nonstop. They did sink. They definitely impacted the campaign. It hurt. It hurt the campaign.
But there's a difference between Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton.
So what's the difference?
The big difference between Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton is he benefits from white male privilege. Hillary does not have that benefit. And we somehow, it's just factual, we benefit from that because Joe Biden is our nominee. Joe Biden got away with a lot of shit in the primaries. They just brushed over a lot of shit in the primaries. But he benefits from white male privilege. Yeah. So that's just what it is.
So I think to a certain extent, but I think that the Republicans are doing a great job of laying down a lot of challenges that could prove personally taxing for Joe Biden. We know how President Biden feels about his integrity, his reputation, and the course of his career. That matters to him. It matters to him. It's a part of who he is. So Republicans are attacking him, I feel, in a very personal way that is unfair, but it's politics. And that's the way the game is played. Also, MAGA Republicans rejoiced today at the indictment of Hunter Biden for gun possession while allegedly using illegal substances. And so I know that I know that for no man here do we give a damn about the indictments against Hunter Biden, but carrying over to the exact same vein, will this have an impact on the 2024 election from where you stand? Like, is what they're doing with Hunter, you think is this gonna make a difference?
Am I voting for Hunter Biden? Is he on the ballot?
Hunter's not on the
I
ballot.
don't give a fuck. I mean, that's what's wasting our time. Hunter, we ain't voting for Hunter. We're voting for Joseph Robinette Biden. I'm not voting for Hunter.
But Kenny, you're not voting for Hunter, right? Like, you're not voting for Hunter. But what Republicans are doing is laying down a case that the Biden crime family, and they are perfect in them. They're constantly saying it. You use the example of Benghazi. And when all this stuff happened and Hillary Clinton's emails, when I tell you I gave not one literal care about this, and I still to this day give not one literal care, because we're rational, logical voters who care about issues. But we have to look at how this proliferated around, and it led to a level of voter suppression with some voters, a lack of enthusiasm for some voters, and it gave encouragement and motivation to this base of Republicans that were pushing towards Trump. This was a time when we weren't as polarized as we are now back then. So I'm thinking about voters who aren't like us. Again, the three men on this panel, we don't give one care about Hunter Biden. Most of the people that follow us will not care about Hunter Biden. But do you think it could have an impact on the American populace as they prepare to vote in 2024?
I still don't think it does. The only reason why I'm saying that really is because y'all have to really look at people and we'll talk about Biden's age in a minute because it kind of just flows into that. With Hillary, she had to deal with something that Biden, again, doesn't have to deal with. She had to deal with misogyny. People already have issues when it comes to voting and trusting women. They do not trust women, particularly Hillary Clinton, because she's too powerful. She's too qualified. She's too this, she's too that. It's always any woman but that woman. But then anytime we had women that were running, we had literally 5 other candidates. None of them made it. None of them.
That's right.
Only one primary, and well, one state at least in Minnesota, and that was Miss Shaky Bang, Amy. So that's my point. This is not that. Joe Biden is going to be able to breeze through this because of his white male privilege, and that's just I just know that's going to happen. I don't see from voters saying that this is a big issue. From people that I know who ain't even into politics and hear about Hunter's laptop, most people that I'm talking to who aren't, fully educated or civically engaged, they just don't.
Yeah.
Most people that I'm talking to.
Shout out Candace Dubbin on the check-in in the comment section. Let me just say this. The tolerance that Trump has brought the American public in terms of political candidates is so fucking high. Because he did so many crazy fucking things. You had this motherfucker on record talking about grab women by the pussy and talking about that is locker room talk. You have this man consistently talk about how he was going to hire the best people and then went back on record, on camera, in the public, talk shit about every single person who he hired and then fired. You have this man who talked about Barack Obama and how many times he vacationed and how many times he fucking went golfing, but he golfed way more times than Barack Obama did in his 8 years in his first term. Like you have to understand, like, the amount of things that this man said that he can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and still get votes. This man just lost the case in E. Jean Carroll with those rape allegations. It lost that case. I mean, like, there's some Jared Kushner and the billionaires from Saudi Arabia. You have the family making $1.7 billion. You want to talk about crime family? These people got no fucking basis. And again, all of these things that these people have done, you have a historic, and I'm going to keep saying it, 2 times impeached, 4 times indicted. Do you remember that debate with Hillary Clinton where he said he was talking about Bill Clinton sitting in the stands. I remember, I'm old enough to remember when he was talking about Bill Clinton talking in the stands, talking about he was impeached, he lost his license to practice law, all of that shit, and motherfucker, you 2 times impeached. Like the amount of things that this man has done, the amount of things that he's been giving people clearance when they're just family members, and like highlighting nepotism, like so many things we can list that if this were a different political climate, maybe I'd say, yeah, Hunter Biden's gonna change something. Nobody give a fuck about this shit. Tan suits was the fucking biggest scandal, and it's no longer the scandal because you can't get fucking views off of them because that shit's not scandalous anymore. You still have Fox News who's gonna talk dumb shit and say, well, Joe Biden's on stage talking about making jokes about his own age when a fucking person in the audience said, I'm 89 or something like that. You're gonna live to be 90. He's making a joke. He's like, well, it comes with wisdom, blah, blah, blah. They cut to Fox News, and Fox News is talking about them. Oh, well, how can he make jokes? Veterans have died, and you're still gonna have that shit. But again, none of that is scandalous. None of that. And the reason why is because Trump has raised the threshold, raised the bar of what we're considering. It's just plain and simple. Hunter Biden, this is a non-starter. They may get the votes through House of the Representatives, but they should be using this as political fuel to say, fucking vote these people out because they have no interest in moving policy forward that's going to focus on the American people. They're actually just being obstructionists, which is exactly what they are. And so let's call it what it is.
Let's call it what it is. I agree. And so, you did a great statement and you say, is it scandalous or what the scandals may be. We're going to talk about the scandals in a moment. I'm going to tell you what's going to be scandalous. But before I tell you what's going to be scandalous, I want to address Candace W. here. You're right. Let me tell you what I firmly believe, Candace. I want this to be. And so I'm looking up and down because I'm also producing and switching screens and doing shit like that. But I'm looking directly into the camera now. So am I looking? Yeah, I can't see it. So shit, I gotta look down.
Yeah, you're doing it. You're doing it.
But directly to Candace, Candace, look. You should not have to vote any particular way because of the fact that you're a Black woman. And there should be no expectation placed on you by society that you have to vote a certain way. You are, like every other American citizen, beholden to vote your interest and beholden to vote for the candidate who is going to help you, that's going to meet those interests. What is unfortunate is that we're living in a country where we have to make a lot of sacrifices about what we're interested in and what's in our best interest as individuals for the collective good. And I think that is a dividing line between Democrats and Republicans, between marginalized voters of color and maybe sometimes other voters, is that we're often going to choose the greater good. We're going to do what's better for our country. Whereas there are people out here who are not going to do that, who are going to vote for what's right for them. I'm going to vote for a Republican because it's going to result in me having lower taxes. And because saving $100 a year on my taxes is more important to me than the rights of gay people or the rights of trans people or the rights of Black people. And that's kind of unfortunate, but it's the world we live in. So again, I think that you should always vote your interest because that's what it means to participate in a democracy. But I'm someone who can't always do that because I look at the greater good. So in addition to that, from going to the greater good, we talk about the greater scandal. Brian, you're saying that Hunter Biden, what's happening there isn't a scandal that matters. But for a number of Republicans in this country, a scandal that indeed does matter is the fact that Tim Scott is 57 years old. And not only is this Black man unmarried, he is without a girlfriend that was known until this week. This week, Tim Scott came out and said that he has a girlfriend, that he has a good Christian woman who he cares about a great deal. And that's what he said. I think that he specifically said during an interview on Fox News that he's dating a special lady. But a lot of people right now want to know where she at, where the woman at. What do you guys think? Because people are now this isn't going away. I want to know, what do we think about the Republicans' push to identify Lady Scott?
Let me say this. Oh, go ahead, Kenny. I'll talk to you.
I mean, if he wants to say the reason why I was single for so long, this, that, and the other, just look at the material. Those teeth tell a story. So as far as Timothy Scott, sir, give it up. Okay, we know what it is. Okay, if you ain't found nobody now, you must have found somebody at one of those somebody in one of them bathroom stalls
Kenny,
near Glory Hole.
Kenny, no, I found some great, I just want to share this real quick. Brian, I'm gonna come to you. But Kenny, you're saying he must have found somebody. Let me tell you, people, everybody watches, I want you to know that Tim Scott's a virgin. Okay. I want to stop it right here. And I want you to know that Tim Scott is a virgin.
No, yeah.
He listen to me when I'm telling you. Okay. This man has gone on record. And when he was running for office in the mid 90s, he was a proud 30-year-old virgin. It was a part of his platform. It was a part of his campaign. This man, and I am not trying to shame anyone, okay, for being 30 years old and a virgin, 40 years old and a virgin, or 57 years old like Tim Scott and a virgin. But he came out and said that he earned the support of the National Abstinence Education Association. And he later went on to say that he was the co-sponsor of the Abstinence Education Reallocation Act, okay, which funded abstinence-only education and the teaching of the skills needed to resist the negative influences of persuasive sex-saturated culture. Now, the bill didn't pass, but he was a major supporter of the bill. And he said that, he had taken a pledge of abstinence. And when he was asked about this in 2012, when he ran for the Senate, he was sticking to his pledge of abstinence. Now, to be fair to Tim Scott and not to lie on this man and his penis, he also, or other orifices of his body, the man did say that when he was asked recently about his abstinence only pledge, he said it isn't going as well as it was, but I am still committed to abstinence only before marriage. So I'm just letting you know that Tim Scott.
Was he truly abstinent, or was he just absent the opportunity to get that version card punched?
Or maybe he was getting punched, but he doesn't consider that a breaking of his abstinence. I can't answer those questions, Kenny, because I am not friends with Tim Scott. Those are very personal and very private, intimate questions that I would only ask my closest friends. Tim Scott is not my friend. He's not your friend. He's no friend to Black people or to orthodontists, podiatrists, and dentists around the world. But again, I'm not asking that question of him.
Well, Tim Scott, you can go on Sniffies if you want something tonight.
My God, today. A lot of people are tired of being tired, and our patience has one thing. Let me say this about Tim Scott. I'm trying to see what I can say, but here's what I will say. I think this is a bigger conversation as it relates to the Republican Party's, desire to see someone who has specific societally constructed norms around a perfect candidate. And so I think what he needs to be worried about is, why his constituents are so worried, and why his political donors and these people who are who are going to be supporting his campaign, why are they so concerned with his sexuality? Why are they concerned with who he's laying in bed at night with? Right? Because at the end of the day,
why are they so concerned, Brian? Why are they so concerned?
Well, you know what I'm saying? People can speculate and say that it's because they think that he's gay. I made this video and I said that specifically. I think they think that he's gay. I think if you look at a man who's that age, who's saying that he's, all about abstinence doesn't mean asexuality, right? And even asexual people can be in relationships with each other, in that they can coexist, they can live together. And there's a whole documentary that talks about asexual people being in relationships. They just don't have any sex, but they love the companionship, and they live together, they cuddle together, they sleep together, they support emotionally, all of those things. Asexual people can be, I forget the terms, but they can be man on man, man on women, woman on woman. Like that can happen. But abstinence just means you haven't had sex yet and are choosing to not continue that, or choosing not to have sex. But if he said it's not going as good as it was, now again, the fact that he had to say that he has this girlfriend that he doesn't want to put, this Christian woman, of course you're gonna say that. Of course, you have all these people who are, mega donors, conservative donors that are consistently asking you what's going on, and they even threaten to halt giving money to your campaign. So they're threatening to hold the funds until you give them answers. That should spark a larger conversation about your constituents and who exactly you are trying to fight for, because they wouldn't fight for you if your ass came out as gay. It's just, it is what it is. And when I'm not saying that you are gay, all I'm saying is that, again, if there's hesitancy to talk about who you're dating and why you're not dating, why you're not seen with a woman, and you're saying that you have a girlfriend, bring her around. I mean, that's the best way to kind of to shove people, your constituents up. And again, people can have beards. There are gay men who, before they wanted to come out of the closet, have girlfriends. They have a beard, you know what I'm saying? And they chill with them, and they out here and they showing them off because they're trying to portray something that they're not. We know who they are. But at the end of the day, like, this is a bigger conversation. And Tim Scott, the problem is you didn't think it would happen to you. See, the problem is that it didn't affect him, and so he didn't care. But now that he's at the forefront of this and he's trying to be a political candidate, trying to be a viable political candidate for the Republican nominee, and now you're the one being harassed, ostracized, being threatened that funds are not going to be given to your campaign. Now you care. We've been trying to tell you this shit, motherfucking, for years. Welcome to the fucking world. And so I have no sympathy. I have no remorse. Y'all want to talk about the log cabin Republicans? Where the fuck they at? Why they not supporting you? Why? They don't got enough money? So pick your poison.
If the log cabin has fallen in, okay, termites have eaten the foundation away, and it no longer stands. The log cabin has collapsed in, and it looks like the Tim Scott campaign will also be collapsing in. When you said asexual, I immediately thought of the Komodo dragon, an asexual animal. The Komodo dragon reproduces asexually, and if you Google and take a good look at a Komodo dragon, you might see some odd similarities in the process. You just may see what I see when we talk about here, Senator Tim Scott. I regret that Tim Scott has had to learn that being a minority in the United States, whether it's because you are a virgin at 57, or because you are asexual at 57, because you're perhaps whatever life has been given to you to live at 57. It's sad that you're just now realizing that the opportunities available to people who are in designated minority categories is different than those that are not. I'm sorry this is happening to him, but I hope that he is going to learn. I hope that he's going to learn, get it, some lessons ahead. Should this impact his ability to be the Republican nominee? Like, can you be the Republican nominee if you are an unmarried man at 57? Should you?
They won't even let you be a congressman.
Should you be their nominee?
They won't even let you be a congressman. Y'all forgot, like, literally in 2021, Madison Crawford, he had a video of him. Y'all remember the video? Madison Crawford, a North Carolina congressman. There was a video
Madison
of him.
was doing a little horseplay, Kenny, with his cousin. Okay?
Didn't look like horseplay to me if I saw his booty
They were
cheeks,
older.
okay?
They were a little bit older to be doing that. I thought they were a little bit older to be doing what they were doing. Who does
horseplay? They were playing leapfrog butt naked.
Madison was not leaping, but
he was.
That's not funny. That's not funny. Madison was scooching around with his cousin on the bed, but it did go public, and unfortunately, Madison lost. Well, fortunately, Madison lost his seat. So you make a good point. It's sad that that's happening, but that's the world they live in. Republicans are not Democrats. And that kind of goes back to the fact of, is Biden too old? Kenny, you made a viral video this week that talked about President Biden being old. A lot of people saying that he's too old. They constantly are using his age against him. Is there something to the level of the fact that once you reach a certain age, you should no longer be in that era of public service?
I feel like you should be in, if you don't have the health and the ability to lead, then you shouldn't be in that position. And that's where a lot of people can talk about Dianne Feinstein and stuff like that. If she doesn't have the ability to carry on, she must be replaced. That's just the situation. She's lost a lot of time. But she has been there for when we needed her as far as confirming judges and stuff like that. Now, I understand the optics of keeping her in that seat because she does hold important committee assignments. So I get that. But as far as Joe Biden, I mean, everybody calls him Sleepy Joe, but he must be sleepwalking because he's getting a lot of work done. The thing is, when we voted for Joe Biden 3 years ago in 2020, we knew he was old then. He just didn't get old overnight. We knew we were voting for the old man. So the only issue that I'm starting to see is this is a non-issue. This really is a non-issue, and they're trying to make it an issue with voters because the real fact of the matter is they're scared of the contingency. And by contingency, they don't want to see a Black woman take the higher level of office being Vice President Kamala Harris. It has something to do with race. It has something to do with misogyny, but it has nothing to do with the actual substance and the actual receipts, not rhetoric, that Biden has delivered to the American people. Biden has done more than any vice president in decades with historical bills like the infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, the American Rescue Plan. We can go on and on and on. I mean, Joe Biden has literally put more Black women on the U.S. Supreme Court than the WNBA. So I don't want to hear about what this, does he have the ability to actually lead? Does he have the ability of actually delivering results to the American people? He's shown that he does. And that's all that matters. I think the problem is a lot of people want another option, if you will. But the problem is nobody can tell us what that option is. And are they viable and can they actually defeat Donald Trump? Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't know anybody who's gotten over 80 million votes than Biden and Harris.
No one has gotten it. And I just want to say, I get it. There are people out there who are going to say, who don't like Kamala, and that's fine. But I want to say this: it doesn't matter who the Black woman would be. It doesn't matter the qualifications, the credentials, nor the personality of the Black woman that's sitting in that seat. The exact same reputation and challenges and arguments being made against Kamala will be made against them because it's all from the same misogynistic, racist playbook. It's the game. It's how they play the game. So, and they know what to say. They know what buttons to push because they have conditioned the American people to be sensitive to those buttons. They have hit us with it on the TV, in the media over and over. So when they push those buttons, they're going to always go for it. And so, yeah, I see that you say, I know, and that's not meant to patronize you. That's meant to make the point about, again, no matter who's in that seat, they're going to come for that person and they're going to attack them no matter what. And that's just, again, because you're not like face to face to have a conversation. I just want to make sure that all points of the conversation are made, both sides, in defense of Kamala and not. That's kind of how it goes when you choose to highlight the comments as a part of a live discussion.
Well, may I comment real quick to Candace?
Yeah.
Because I noticed she did say that she is a Black woman. And I know a lot of people feel like, well, Kamala Harris, I don't see that Black woman, this, that, and the other. As a Black woman, Candace, I'm pretty sure that you've worked in a field where you are the most qualified. You have done the most. You have built the best resume. You are outperforming and excelling even your mediocre white counterparts. And you notice that your work goes unnoticed. You notice that all of a sudden, everybody else who's coming in, who's these new faces, and they're young and they're youthful and they're white and they might have, less experience than me, but are literally on the same pay level as me, or I'm training them to become my boss.
Let me say this. Let me just cut in and say this. I know Candace in person, in real life. She is a coworker, and a great friend of mine, and we have conversations about this all the time off the air. And we talk about the fact that there are people who don't support, people in the Black community who don't support Kamala Harris. And I think one of her arguments, and I think one of the good, I would love for Candace to come on the show one day so that because she is also a debater and she's also somebody who.
What's that argument?
A lot of nuance in the conversation. The argument is that people think that just because, and again, I'm saying I'm just the messenger. The argument is that because people don't support Kamala Harris, that's automatically misogynoir. And I understand her argument in that it's not necessarily always 100% misogynoir, that people have specific reasons as to not. I would want her to describe and for her to detail what her position is. I don't want to talk on her
No,
position.
I mean,
I'm
I
just
agree with
saying,
that. You don't have to. I agree with that perspective.
I
Just
agree with
because
that.
you don't like
100%.
Kamala, yeah, just because you don't like Kamala doesn't make you a misogynist. Just because you don't like Kamala doesn't make you racist. Like that's.
Yes.
I don't agree with that.
But
But
anytime somebody says that they don't like her, they always bring up either a lie, number one, or they bring up something that's unsubstantive that has absolutely nothing to do with
well,
policy.
but so Candace is
her,
a socialist,
so
and
okay.
so a lot of people, a lot of progressive socialists, capital, I mean communists, they aren't going to be fans, right? But again, and so I had a great discussion with someone in my comments recently on Sunday. And they took it offline because they were, he came to my DMs and there was no convincing. But the point was, again, and my argument was, I think I've told you guys, of all of three of us, I'm probably the most progressive in what I want to see America do. But I'm a progressive liberal because I realize that the things that I want to see happen aren't going to probably happen in my lifetime because change is incremental. And when things happen quickly, rapidly, revolutionary in terms of their scope, you have a backlash. Every action has an equal to opposite reaction. We are now living with the backlash of the 2020 Black Lives Matter movement and the social justice changes that we had. We saw some amazing things happen in 2020. Confederate monuments and statues fall that we would have never imagined would fall in the course of a lifetime. We had change happen rapidly, but now we're living in a time when white supremacy and Nazi rhetoric is happening in public spaces, and giving and alt-right rhetoric is being given a platform that I've never seen in the course of my life. We have celebrities, we have people with major power getting on stages to attack the existence of other people who are of a different race, of a different faith, of a different religion, or a different sexual orientation. That is the backlash. That is what happens when change happens too rapidly. Also, my argument, I'm going to be very transparent about it, Candace, when I look at this, when I study revolutions and I look at the revolutionaries who have lost their lives, they look just like me. They look just like me. I'm talking about Huey P. Newton. I'm talking about Fred Hampton. I'm talking about people, again, the Black people die first. They get on the front lines, do the hard work, they do the pushing and labor, and they're dead. I'm just saying. And I don't know any Black people who are leading communist countries and seeing the dream come true. I'm just saying. So
And let me say this. Let me also say this because I do want to make sure that I say this. Candace's position has been about Kamala Harris's record when she was in California. And I know, Kenny, you have feelings about that. You know your feelings about that. And I've mentioned, and
it's
I
not
said,
feelings.
No.
It's not feelings. I don't have feelings about that. I have facts.
I know this. I know you have the record the most. And I've honestly,
give me her number.
I'm not. So I'm just saying that and this is why we should have her on the show, because I think she would have this conversation. She had positions on her policy when she was in California. I know that you have done the research. I don't know enough to talk about. Do it. You know what we should do? What we really should do.
Candace, just don't get mad at me, because girl,
but we really no. I think, and Candace is a very passionate person, but she's a debater. And the good thing about as debaters, we see all sides, and so she's always open to a different perspective and understanding a new information. So you know what we should do? If Candace is open to it, we should do an Instagram live after the show, and we can talk about it. Because I feel like that would be great if y'all are open. Zach, you open to that? We can just
do it next week. Ain't nobody doing it. I'm not doing an Instagram live. I got to get up very early.
Okay, Kenny, do you want to do it? We could get on.
Let's do it next week. Let's have a special guest and we talk about it next week. And that way, everybody benefits from the benefit of the conversation. It's recorded. It's on YouTube, and because people need to hear multiple sides of the story. This is going to continue to come up, and I think that it's important to share the differences in the sides. I think it's always a good idea to bring it to the forefront. And we are oftentimes making pro Kamala Harris commentary and content, and so I would love to hear an opposite argument made by a Black woman regarding the Kamala Harris record. I think that will be a worthwhile. I think that'd be really good for our audience and our followers and our fans. I think it would be good.
Make sure you bring your receipts and make sure that you source your cited pages, please, and make sure you bring factual data. That's all I'm
Well,
gonna say. Because
yeah,
Miss
Candace is
Candace,
gonna
if you
come with
do
her
not
as a
come
policy
correct,
Candace,
legislator.
and I'm gonna say,
you
I
better
ain't
warn
doing.
her.
I'm not doing no research.
I'm just she's a grown woman. She can handle
You better
herself. But
warn
as a
her.
person,
No. I'm just saying I'm not
who
doing
knows
no
her and
research
who's
for
on
you.
a
I'm
great
tired.
I'm saying as for someone who is a great friend to Candace, and she's not here to speak right now. What I want to convey in this space is that does not need to be. She does not need to be reminded of that. She will bring the facts.
No, yeah,
She will bring her. You know, she will do her thing. I know you will too, Kenny. I feel like this is going to be a really good conversation. MA and Women's Agenda Studies. I mean, she's
ain't
a
got
grown
shit to
woman.
do
She
with
can handle
comedy.
herself. But I'm just saying.
But
I'm
it's
just
gonna
saying.
give a good perspective. I'm excited. I mean, I
It's a great
love
perspective.
hearing different perspectives. I'm just saying, like, I ain't. I'm not gonna research. Whatever I know, I know. If I don't know, shit, I don't know because I'm not gonna do no research.
It'll be a good. It'll be a good conversation.
It'll be a good conversation.
It'll be a good conversation.
It'll be a good
All right, cool.
conversation, and it's gonna continue to come up. And we talk about good conversation. We talk about real issues. Let's kind of get back on topic with the next topic, which is again the fact that more elections have, and in the vein of elections have consequences. A George Bush appointed judge has once again ruled that DACA, the Dreamers Act, is unlawful or is unlawful. This is now set its course to make its way to the Supreme Court, where I just unfortunately think that they're going to rule against our dreamers. And you have a lot of people out there. There are two ways I've seen this handled. And I took two screenshots of two tweets. The first one comes from Kenny's favorite friend, Mistress Mothball, Katie Porter, where she is literally saying that, here we go. Government should keep its promises. The DACA program helps communities flourish by protecting our friends, neighbors, and colleagues from deportation. DACA is hanging on by a judicial thread. Congress must act. And that really pisses me off. It pisses me off, Mother Mothball, because you are Congress. You are Congress. What are you talking about? Congress must act. You are Congress. When politicians do shit like this, they're just doing it for likes, views, and virality, and it's really messed up. You're playing games with the American people. You are Congress. You don't have to send out and say stuff like this. Not only do you not have to say stuff like this, darn right that there is nothing that Congress is going to be able to do with Republicans having a majority in the House of Representatives. What you could have said was Democrats should have came out in harder numbers. We should have done more to turn out the vote. We should have done more strategic work on the front end so that we wouldn't be in the outcome we have. But this makes it seem as though that there's something that can be done that can't be done. I don't like it. She could have taken a position of our friend Isaiah Martin, who announced his candidacy last week for Texas representative. DACA recipients are here simply because their families dreamed of them to have a better life. If we do not codify DACA to law, we'd be killing that dream, damaging our economy, and depriving people of the humanity and dignity they deserve. I know we can do so much better. Simply stated, talking about what could or should happen, and even taking onus of it as an American when he isn't even in Congress. This is why I don't like Katie Porter and people like her. This is why. That is a prime example. But I want to know from you guys, what are your thoughts and what you think if anything could be done on the part of Democrats to protect our dreamers?
I don't know. I can't tell you. Right now, we don't have the House, so they can't even push a bill through. So what are we going to do? And do they have enough bipartisan support to figure out something to push through the House and somehow be able to push through the Senate? I mean, there's like nothing we can do. We have to literally own up to our mistakes in 2016. Hillary did tell us several times, and until we actually start owning and putting the onus back on the voters, we're never going to be able to move forward as a country. We have to learn. It's just like when you go to Alcoholics Anonymous, they tell you have to admit to being an alcohol first in order to get your help. We have to admit to the fact that we weren't civically engaged the way that we needed to be in 2016, and what we need to do for as far as the steps going forward. That's all that needs to happen. That's all I got.
I think you're right, Zach, when it comes down to politicians who are in government, in state, local, and federal government, that if they're doing this, it's because they're trying to do it for virality. I definitely, one of the things that for me is important about messaging is instead of talking about Congress must act, talk about the reasons why Congress cannot act, and talk about the fact that the reason why they cannot act is because Republicans, again, are obstructionists. When you do that, I don't understand. I just don't understand it. When you do that as a Democrat and you're saying Congress must act, the person who it always falls on when there is inaction is the president of the United States. And when they are tied to the Democratic Party, then people start losing, all faith and hope in government and in the person who they elected, which is actually the person who is currently the only person who could potentially put agenda and policy agenda on the docket to say that this is something that we need to push forward. But when you say things like Congress needs to act, Congress must act, no, explain the nuance as to why Congress cannot act. That's going to get us that's what the message is. Do we have the people who are, again, I ask this question every fucking week, do we have the political strategists? Because again, Katie Porter probably didn't tweet that. That's somebody on our fucking team. But why is nobody having a meeting with everybody? The DNC should take all those fucking staffers, have a meeting and say, this is what the messaging needs to be from a strategic playbook. This is what we need to talk about. This is what we need to put out through these channels of these congressmen who have hundreds of thousands, millions of followers. And this is what the messaging needs to be. And everything needs to be consistent in line with what the president is doing. This should not be siloed. This should not be disjointed. This should not be as messy as it fucking is. And people should not be using their platforms in this way, because what are they going to do? What is telling Congress must act do? Does that get people mobilized? You're not even getting a call to action to that. You're saying, Congress must act, but you're not saying call your congressman. That's what I'm saying. So fuck all of that.
That's why I don't like Katie Porter. I don't like her. That's exactly why. That's why I'm not a fan of ALC. This is why, because they do too much for clicks and views and virality and not enough to actually educate and push forward the agenda to make things better for the American people. I don't know. I think it's an easy attack for Republicans and conservatives to go after constantly DACA and go after people, our migrants who are here working hard, contribute to our economy, trying to become citizens, because they don't have a vote. They don't have a vote. So therefore, they're not hurting them. And they plant so much information and so much hate and division in communities to misalign these people. And once they get the right to vote, we know they're not going to vote Republican. Well, we hope they don't vote Republican. We talked about that last week. So, I'm going to say something that's going to be very unpopular. But Kenny, yes, we have to realize the elections have consequences of 2016. But let's not also forget, because I also blame President Barack Hussein Obama. Zachary Kirk said in 1999, 2000, I said in 2000 that a legal path to immigration or a legal path to citizenship was the biggest problem affecting America, and that the Democratic Party should have made that a major focus in part of their huge platform when Al Gore had the election taken from him. Okay, I was saying this back in 2000 when I was in college writing for the Mississippi State Reflector newspaper. And when President Obama came into office and had a majority of the House and the Senate, he had a decision to make. And he chose to prioritize universal health care, which was the right thing for a lot of people. But I always wanted him to have prioritized a legal path to citizenship for every single dreamer that was there, for every single person out there, so that then the Democratic Party would have a base of voters that would be beholden to them in the way that Cubans are beholden to Republicans in Florida. That's what I said should happen. Now, I don't know if it would have held up. I don't know if it would have led to this massive, strong brown and blue wall that I envisioned it being in my head, because of the nature of adjacency to whiteness works. But I had hope that possibly it could have made a difference, because what we have now is a dwindling impact on our Hispanic and Latino voters in this country. And I don't see that turning in our favor anytime, turning into the favor of Democrats anytime soon. That wraps up the topics that we have on the table, gentlemen. Other things that happened this week that we need to talk about before we sign off and call it a night.
Do we talk about Mitt Romney?
You can talk about Mitt. Yeah,
and
well,
David
kind
and
of when we said that about Biden's age. I mean, Mitt Romney said Joe Biden, he's old, needs to sit down. He want everybody old.
But this is important. No, but this is important. This is important because he also in his video, I saw the video where he talked about David Ignatius, who was the person who was going viral on that what was it, MSNBC? Well, I forget what article. It was an opinion on Washington Post.
It was on Politico, or was it Politico? It was probably Washington Post.
It was a Washington Post opinion piece, David Ignatius, who talked about the fact that he loved all the policies put forward and everything, all the accomplishments that Biden and Harris were able to accomplish. He said that in the article. He says that. I think where he buries that, because the lead is, I don't think that Biden should run because he's too old. And you have Mitt Romney coming out and saying, well, I think I'm gonna step aside because of my age. He didn't have to say that. He said that on purpose because he's trying to nuke a couple of things. He's trying to nuke Biden, right? And saying that Biden shouldn't run because he's 80. He's trying to nuke Trump because he doesn't fucking like Trump. And again, this whole thing. But he was talking about, in the new press conference, they asked him, well, who are you endorsing? He's like, oh, I don't want to talk about endorsements because endorsements have really no weight. And I'm like, well, you weren't saying that before when you wanted Trump's endorsement, right? You weren't saying that back then. So that's some bullshit. I think this is all a political ploy because of the fact that he said he's not going to run again for Utah senator, right? So he said that there was polls that were strong in his favor. The polls are not strong in his favor. If you want to talk about polls, yes, he does great with a good portion of moderates in Utah, but he doesn't do great with the base. And if he doesn't do great with the base, it's a non-starter. You're not even gonna become the nominee for a second term. So that's number one. So he has nothing to really lose by saying I'm leaving because of my age. He's nuking both candidates that could be at the top. Now, the other thing is that David Ignatius talks about in his article this poll that says that most people in this poll say that Biden is too old. Here's the problem with the poll, because we like to go in and not just read the headlines. Problem with the poll is that while they do say that age is a bigger re-election problem for Biden than Trump, they also say that they associate Trump more with crime than they do Biden with old age, number one. Number two, they also talk about the fact that 77%, so despite widespread apprehension about Biden's age among young voters, 77 Democrats, 77% say they will at least probably vote for him if he's a Democratic Party's nominee, although only 28% indicate they will definitely do so. So 28% of young Democratic voters will likely do so. 77% will probably do so anyway, just because. So here's the thing. You have people who are going to vote for him, right? Even though he's the nominee and even though they have apprehensions of the fact that he's old. The other thing is the people in this same poll, it's not that they target Biden and say, well, Biden shouldn't run for just because he's old. These people also, there's a correlation of them also thinking that there should be term limits for everybody in politics. So it's not just, well, we don't think Biden should run because he's not old, right? So you can have an opinion and say, we have a problem with people who are of a certain age, still being in politics, but also say, I understand what the moment is. I understand how consequential this election is, and I'm still going to vote for the person who I think is going to move forward my policies, right? But here's the other thing, because let's talk about the sample size. Of the sample size, an overwhelming majority of, obviously, you guessed it, is Republican, and the bigger group is a conservative net Republican, and then the moderates are a bigger chunk. But if you look at the sample size, home ownership, they're mostly homeowners, and they're mostly people who make over $50,000 a year. So what that tells me is, and what we know from the research, is that there's a correlation with people who are in higher tax brackets, who are homeowners, who are more fiscally conservative and more worried about what's in their pocket than everything else. So looking at the sample size, you look at this is overwhelmingly a more conservative or moderates who caucus with people who are fiscally conservative policies and are going to vote more Republican. And again, this is another example of this person who is emboldened to write an opinion piece, think that it's the be all end all when you cite one poll and the poll is skewed in one way. And this is what we're talking about, the people who don't necessarily want to do the work to look at the crosstabs, look at the more information, look at the shit more in depth, and you lose the entire side of what all this is. So all of this is politically motivated. It's a ploy, and it's on some bullshit. Because in the same breath that you can say, I would vote for them, and I loved all their policies, and their policies have been all great, you're also going to say, well, I just have apprehensions. And that's the lead. That's the headline. You want some bullshit, David Ignatius, and you deserve all the smoke that you fucking got. Tots and pears.
Tots and pears. I mean, that's a really profound, like the fact that you brought that's broken down. That's why these polls mean absolutely nothing to me, because it's skewed. They're still sitting here giving Republicans the bulk of likely voters when that all shifted in 2020. The majority of Americans are aligned in favor of the Democratic Party. They favor the policies of the Democratic Party, and they identify as Democrats. 7 million more Americans voted for Joe Biden than who voted for Donald J. Trump. So the fact that any poll in 2023 would still favor Republicans in terms of the numbers of who surveyed is, to me, an invalid result. And that makes me sick. But what makes me even more sick is that what you stated in the article is not in any way aligned to their clickbait headline. We have to deplatform these clickbait people. We have to deplatform them. We had the exact same thing happen. And, Kenny, Brian, I think some of us were, we got caught up in the clickbait when the Neighborhood Talk attacked a blogger and said that he said something that he did not say. They literally took a statement extremely out of context. I actually saw the statement because you guys know I watched the social media. I mean the reality TV show Bloggers. I watched them, and so I heard him say that, and in no way was a red flag raised because of the context of conversation. But they took one piece, one line, made a headline out of it, and what they accused this man of is extremely detrimental, and it's actually illegal. And he knows that. That's why he's suing. He immediately took action. They actually took that down. So I think, Kenny, you saw it. I think maybe I'm sure you only saw like a screenshot of it, right? Because I saw the video. The post was still up.
No, I saw I took a screenshot of the original thing, but I also think I saved the video that neighborhood.
But on that website, they took that down, right?
I hope so. I don't know. I don't follow the Neighborhood Talk. I actually got it from another blogger that reposted.
They took that down.
I hope they did.
Talk took it down within 2 hours from what I saw from the fallout. But all that to say, everybody is so focused on clicks and views and virality, but not actually caring at all about the real news. And that's why Brian took that down last week with the Shade Room. Now, Brian, you set your ass up. And you made a whole motherfucking missing persons, America's Most Wanted style intro for your shit. And we sit up here every week without no goddamn intro music whatsoever. So why the fuck you can't make us an intro music?
I use the TikTok template for that.
You can use a TikTok template for us.
Well,
you can go to my page and take some videos. You can go to Kenny's page and videos, put it together and make us a nice introduction to the weekly reader. We need a show intro.
We need to go ahead and do that. I need to go ahead and find. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll find a template and we can get it done.
Make it happen. Make it happen, Captain. Make it happen. You're sitting over there investing in table stands and all type of high quality equipment. You got whole ferns, and we're sitting here without an intro. We're sitting here without an intro. Anything else that we want?
Yes, the Mentally Divine podcast is coming to you in October. It is coming to you in October.
What are you going to do on the Mentally Divine podcast? What are you going to do?
Well, the Mentally Divine podcast
is a scope. Give us a scope of the relaunch.
The relaunch of the Mentally Divine podcast.
An exclusive from 3+1 Media as we discuss with the one and only Brian Bays about the return of the Mentally Divine podcast.
The Mentally Divine podcast is going to be very late night-esque. It's going to be giving Colbert Report, giving John Oliver, giving Daily Show with Jon Stewart / Then He Left, Daily Show with Trevor Noah. It's going to be giving some of that. It's going to be giving some great editorial pieces in which we discuss some of the things that are most pressing. I think one of the things that did very well was this expose on the Shade Room, and I think that there may be some other exposés coming up, because I feel like some people need to be exposed. And there was some people coming down in the comment section talking about how can he expose something that some of the media has already covered? Well, but you didn't cover it. First of all, you ain't cover it like me, and second of all, you ain't covering it you're not putting together pieces that people are talking about, right? There was something in 2021 that people were talking about, but then now you have most recently in 2023, the person who wrote an article in 2022 actually about how right-wing propaganda was being spewed off of these platforms. They then covered it again and said this is an update to that story, and it has only intensified. But these dots were not being connected. So to the people who don't know, that's what a fucking expose is. Welcome to the fucking world. Mental Divine Podcast, October is coming.
We ready. Winter is coming. Mental Divine Podcast is coming. House Stark is shooketh. So also wanting to, I hope you also bring in some like guests, right? Like, I want to see you interview T.S. Madison. I know that you're a fan of her comedy, you're a fan of her work. I want to see you interview T.S. Madison. And Kenny, I want to see you interview Kaya. Like, I want to see you and Kaya get on here and go head to head and even have her read.
I'm gonna let her have it.
Well, I think you and Kaya could read some of the political people out here in the world, like the two of you together, because your styles are similar, and I think the two of you together could really. I mean, that's a roast I wouldn't want no marshmallow part of.
Look, I love Kaya. I'm just gonna tell you, she would give me a run for my money as far as
I want to see. Yeah, that's what I want to see. I go head to head. I'm thinking, like, is there anything else that I want that's like a topic worthy of bringing to the table? And I guess really not really. I think that's
save it. And if we forget anything, save it for the next one.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything. I mean, people are running around talking about a whole bunch of nonsense. Fake award programs at the VMAs, not worthy of our time. I love reality TV trash, not worthy of our time. I will say this. If you are not watching this season of Big Brother, you have missed out on the best television run of the year. It is exactly what Big Brother should have always been. We've had a couple seasons of Big Brother that was very civil, very motivational, empowering, and some good stuff like the cookout, and then Taylor winning with her Taylor chips. But this season, oh my God, oh no, it's a house of villains, and I am absolutely amazed at the great gameplay, and I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with the housemates and their actions, and kind of some crazy stuff that's happening. Tonight's episode, I know, is going to go down as a legendary, historic episode. So I can't wait to go upstairs and watch it, because I haven't watched it yet. But I know that the world will be. I'm sure my Twitter feed is in shambles from tonight's Big Brother. So with that being said, people have gone dark, popping in and out. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if the Matrix is glitching, but hell, we about to go. So we will see you guys next week, and have a good one. Have a good one.
Good night, y'all.
And don't have sex. Abstain. Let's let Tim Scott be a motivational force in all of our lives.
I fucking can't.